Hello, everybody, and welcome to our Saturdays with Tara Hangout on Air. I'm Mary Beth at the Law of Attraction Club, and it's on the web at the loaclub.com. These Saturday Hangouts on Air are the introduction to our theme for the week. There'll be a link on your screen for our subscription page if you want to get invitations to our free guest membership calls. We offer these calls once a month or so. Robin will be doing the Saturday call today. Rachel usually does Thursday, and I usually do Tuesday. Today we'll be having Rachel join us as well for a special treat. If you're watching the recording, there'll be pop-up links about how you can access the complete audio with our questions and answers. So this morning we welcome Robin and Rachel and Tara.
Welcome. So, who are you? We've asked and answered this question before, but as we head into 2016, some of you are newly engaged with the 12-month Living with Source program within this community, and thereby you will be learning to channel. So we've been revisiting the topic of what channeling really is. We've also been revisiting this particular question of who you are, because it cuts to the heart of it all. Who you are at your essence is an absolute and not a choice. Knowing it is interesting. Knowing it is useful. Remembering it is empowering. Remembering it is enlightenment. Remembering it is a choice. And before we close here today, we'll give you two things you can do to help you effectively make that choice. As we explore this question in what follows, we are, as always, tackling this decidedly infinite subject with very finite language. And so there will be approximations. But do not let that sidetrack you from a path to understanding all of this. If it seems too esoteric, just move on and let it take its time within you. The detail is for those who seek it. In the end, it is all elegantly, divinely simple. In the end, it is all about choosing to feel good, and thereby knowing that you are heading exactly in the direction you want to go. And that is all you ever really need to understand about any of this. Let's start from that absolute source, the timeless, spaceless collective consciousness that is all that is. It is difficult to describe in language. You could think of it as pure positive energy, although the word positive here serves only to emphasize that there's nothing negative about it. In another sense, it is pure joy or pure love. It creates nothing because it is all it is. It is the Alpha and the Omega. There is nothing beyond or above or below this collective consciousness. It is without borders and boundaries. It has no form. It has no time. It just is. In this realm, everything and nothing, and now and forever, all mean the same thing. For some of you, the immediate question that comes up is, where does God fit into all of this? Well, we would say if by God you mean an eternal, all-powerful creator of everything, we suggest that you hold that question until later in this discussion. Let's first be clear about who you are. And if in the process you start to see who God is, then you will have answered your own question. So then let's move to you. You're a consciousness, a part of or an extension of that collective consciousness. You are not a physical being. The time-space physicalness that is you and the world around you is simply the stage you've created and on which your chosen story is playing out. You're a timeless, non-physical consciousness, having a time-space physical experience. The experience is real. The story is a work of fiction. The story is simply the illusion that provides the context for the experience. So let's start at the beginning of you, back before time and space. The thinking you that existed then and is engaged here and now in this discussion. Now we know that there will be some chicken and egg aspects to this, as in which comes first, the intention that forms the consciousness or the consciousness that has the intention. Of course, in a timeless realm, there is no paradox. But we know it can be challenging for you to think in terms of no space, no shape, and no time. So for simplicity's sake, we'll talk about a progression. This is you and your story. This you was born out of all that is. You were defined by an intention. You began as that intention and a desire for a new experience, to create new things. You made a choice to experience some degree of individualism, to become something out of everything, and experience some other some things. Then those experiences led you to new desires, new choices, and yet more experiences. With each choice, you step into a new version of you, and a new matching environment, a new context or realm wraps itself around you. It's very simple. This is what you call the law of attraction. It's as fundamental as you are. For those of you who are seeking to know it all, it's worth adding here that with each choice, there's an alternate version of you that experiences an alternate choice. Both versions exist. Infinite versions exist simultaneously. If you choose to go left at the fork, there's another equally valid version of you that goes right. Because of your chosen focus, you may be only aware of one version, this one you seem to be inhabiting. But that other version of you also exists. You'll see why this is significant shortly. Let's look at some of the aspects of the bigger you. And as we do that, we're going to be using some labels. You may have your own labels and descriptions for these aspects. It matters not. We are all talking about the same you. Even as we use these labels, we encourage you not to get too attached to the idea that these are discrete, definable clumps, because in truth, there are no boundaries within this creation of yours. They are simply representative of the swirl of energy that is you. It's just that it's useful for us to consider these concepts to get beyond what might at first seem complex, to the elegant, simple truth that lies beneath it all. Through all that progression and change of shape, this part of the consciousness you perceive as the thinking you is making all the choices. There is no thing and no body that is making choices for you. Choice is the essence of who you are. This you chooses what to believe and expect. At the most fundamental level, those choices create the different aspects of the bigger you, including what we would loosely describe as the subconscious you and your higher self or inner being. At a more detailed level, those choices create the physical you and the physical and non-physical worlds around you. At some point in this long progression of creative choices, in order to have this particular experience, you chose to narrow the focus of your consciousness down into the form with which you are now familiar, mostly having one thought at a time, dealing with one subject at a time, experiencing only one version of you at a time. So here you now find yourself, John or Jane Doe, living on planet Earth. What about those other people and things that seem to be in your world? They are simply the versions of everyone and everything that match your expectations. And here's where those previously mentioned different versions are important. Different versions of you are matching up with different versions of them. You are all dancing together in multiple versions of reality. But each of you is totally in charge of your own story and your own world. That's the miracle of the law of attraction. What looks like one solid, continuous, shared world is really a collage of matching intersections. It's like a movie playing in your mind. Now, we know that this space-time movie of yours can be very engaging. It wouldn't be much of a movie if it were not. It's mesmerizing. So mesmerizing, in fact, that many of you forget who you are and how you got here. But none of this progressive creation has ever created any real separation between you and all that is, or between you and entities like us. Remember, there are no boundaries here. You may not be consciously aware of the connection, but it is always there. Without it, you would not exist. There's an eternal conversation going on between the different aspects of the bigger you and between that you and the collective consciousness. To give you some idea of the nature of this connection, consider this. Whenever you have, out of the blue, so to speak, a new idea, where does that come from? It is not, as some of you physically focused beings would describe, a simple random firing of neurons in your brain. It results from that ongoing conversation we talked about. It's a collaboration. It comes from the collective you and beyond you. For those of you in the Living with Source program, we get into more detail on this. But what we are describing once again here is the simple mechanics behind what you call channeling. Can you see how connected you are, even if you're unaware of most of it? Can you see that all these aspects are a part of you? And can you see by the train of decisions you have made, choices about what to believe and expect, how you have created it all? You are not a tiny speck on a huge planet. All of this comes from within. It's an inside job. So who are you? You are a consciousness, part of the collective consciousness, and you are truly an eternal, all-powerful creator of everything in your world. In this world, you intersect with other parts of the collective consciousness, like all the matching versions of other people on your planet. And non-physically, you may match up with the likes of us. We are all of us the eternal, powerful creators of everything in our respective worlds. You and we are all gods in every sense of the word. It's just that some versions of you playing the Earth game have become so caught up in it, you've forgotten who you are. We're just here to remind you of your origins. And as a natural segue from that, to remind you that nothing is more important than feeling good. When you're feeling good, you're heading toward what you want. Whenever you're feeling not so good, for any so-called reason, even if it's just getting through your have-tos, should-dos, must-dos, or your I'm expected tos, whenever you're feeling negative, what you're sensing is misalignment. It's misalignment with who you are, and it means you're heading away from what you want. It means you're on your way to a place you do not want to go to. You can't do things to get to happiness. You can't plan to be happy when, fill in the blanks. As we said using Bashar's words last week, that's like waiting for your reflection in the mirror to smile first. Planning to be happy is not being happy. We would say that happily planning, pre-paving, what you want, getting into the being place of experiencing it now, is of course the only thing you have to do to arrive at that place. But there's a world of difference between these two approaches. What does a fish know about water? Nothing, until it gets out of the water and has a frame of reference, a different perspective. We see many of you like that fish, being so familiar with an ambient feeling level of not so good that it's normal. We say it's not normal. We say life is meant to be a joyful adventure. We say get out of the water a bit and get a new perspective. There are a lot of tools you can use, but here are two simple but effective things you can do. Firstly, make a decision. Declare to yourself, from this day forward, you will never, ever again blame how you feel on the circumstances you've created. There never is and never was any inherent power in any circumstance you've created to dictate how you feel about it. It's always a choice. You may think your reactions are automatic and just a part of being human, but all that means is that you've delegated that choice to your subconscious. Well, there's nothing that you've instructed your subconscious to do that can't be rescinded. You can take back those choices, and we recommend you do exactly that. Secondly, make a commitment in your mind, or even better, out loud. Prefix every declaration about how things are with these words: in this version of the world I am creating. And thereby let a little true reality intrude into your virtual reality. Listen to those words. Let a little true reality intrude into your virtual reality. Try it. Set yourself a target to say that to yourself at least 10 times today and tomorrow, and tomorrow, and tomorrow, and tomorrow. Simply practice thinking a little more about who you are and a little less about the seeming solidarity of your context. Can you see that the more you allow yourself to be mesmerized by that virtual reality you're creating, the more you day by day, hour by hour, minute by minute, practice seeing the world as out there and you have to deal with it, and the more your conversations revolve around the physical inevitability of things beyond your control, the less you're able to cultivate an inner, ongoing, ever-present awareness of who you are. If you intend to understand and be understood when you visit Italy, you don't devote energy and attention to practicing Mandarin. You practice Italian. If you're visiting who you are, we recommend you practice being who you are. Ultimately, all of this, all of our discussions, and all of our processes are about learning new habits of thinking, which means training that old dog of a subconscious of yours into learning some new tricks. Practice is what settles these thoughts into the core of your being. So practice, practice, practice. Then watch as the miracles unfold before your eyes. When you get this, when you really, really get who you are and what you are, we feel a huge wave of comprehension sweep over you as you move beyond that intellectual understanding to a place of truly feeling your power. That's where we want you to be. That's when the fun really starts. Then we say, play on. Create as you wish. Be easy about everything, and most of all, enjoy yourself. There is not, and there cannot ever be, any higher purpose than that. There is no pursuit that can bring you more satisfaction, more joy, more love of life, more fun in the game than simply putting your hands into the clay of all that is and creating what you want. As always, we look forward to our extended discussion and your questions.
Okay, folks, if you've been live with us on this Hangout, our discussion continues now. You can join us on our conference line using the number on your screen. Bring your questions and comments, or you can just listen. If you're watching the recorded video, click the pop-up links on your screen for more information about the audio of the full call. And so we are going to open up the floor now to